Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to talk to you very briefly about this little guy. This is the Gerber Paraframe. This is one of the submodels of the Paraframe, the 4660817A. Ooh, catchy name there. But I want to, kind of talk a little bit about this. And by the way, to longtime subscribers, I'm going to be talking a little bit more to non-knife people here because honestly, the Paraframe lineup and most of what Gerber makes is really targeted at people who aren't in the knife game. They're not crazy knife enthusiasts with crazy knives sitting around in their everyday life. And so I want to kind of speak that direction. So first off, we'll do a little size comparison here, just so people who do, know the knife game will have that available here. This is the Spyderco Delica. This is a really good option for your everyday carry. This is the Ontario Rat number 2, which is a knife I'm going to be recommending later in this video. And here is the Rat number 1, so you can see that as well. But look, today we're going to deviate from my normal format where I talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly, because honestly, there's not all that much good and great about this little guy. Gerber is a company that is a once mighty brand. They were incredible at one point in time. They made really high-end gear, and they made knives that were really good to go. Unfortunately, though, they were bought out by a company named Fiskars. That's right, this is a people. And at that point in time, they shipped all their production overseas and made everything just as cheaply as possible. And as a result, we end up with knives like this that are just filled with problems. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not impugning the purchase here, I'm not saying, but the thing is, as a knife guy, there are a lot of issues going on here. I mean, for instance, one of the biggest deals that I notice immediately is that when you open this knife, it requires an incredible amount of effort to try and push this lock bar back over, this little bar that holds the knife open. That's ugly. I mean, seriously, guys, they can do better. And the thing is, most modern pocket knives are much, much better than that. The action on this guy, opening and closing the blade, is not terribly smooth. It feels kind of ugly and unfortunate there, at least on this guy. And part of the reason for that is you can see here, this is using plastic washers. It's got little washers in there, and the thing is, that's just not acceptable. At least in my personal estimation, some people still like them even on higher-end pieces, but by and large, they're not a good sign about the quality of a knife. The steel on this guy is sort of a mystery steel. It's generally sort of a truism in the knife world that if somebody won't tell you what steel they're using, that's for a reason. They're trying to hide something, and Gerber is, unfortunately pretty well known for that. And so as a result, using this little guy, I noticed it dulling way faster than anything else, well, frankly, than any knife should. And then, of course, even things like the blade geometry. You can see here the blade thickens up very quickly to its very full stock, and even at the tip there, it's not actually all that thin. If we compare that to, let's see here, this little guy, which is very, very thin at the edge of that tip there, this means this is going to cut a lot better than this guy is, no matter what because the thing is, some of the cutting performance is from the steel, some of it's from the grind, how it's made. So, as a result, although this can be a solid tool that will cut things and that could serve somebody well, relative to a lot of what's available out there, even on the very low end, on the budget end of the world, this is kind of a junky knife. This is a knife that absolutely drove me crazy as I was carrying it for review. The best thing that I can say about this guy and the rest of the Paraframe lineup is that it is inexpensive enough that it can be a very good first knife for somebody. I do mean that. There are a lot of people who are walking around with one of these because, well, they needed a knife and they bought one of these guys, and then they kind of unfortunately assume that a lot of the problems that are in this knife are sort of just problems that you're going to have to put up with in a knife. And so I want to kind of spend the rest of the video here, now that I've kind of given my overall verdict, which is really, this is someplace you want to move past. I want to talk a little bit about finding your next knife, because this is a great first knife, but you can do better for your next one. The problem is that, unfortunately, I mean, these are very, very cheap. That is a nice thing about them, but they're so cheap that you have a problem, and you're really just not going to find a very good knife under $15 new. A good rule of thumb as you're doing that is to avoid knives where there is some kind of a spring pushing the blade out of there. I mean, because generally speaking, that's kind of a hack that manufacturers of cheap knives are going to use to make their knives appear a little bit better. So knives like this, where there is absolutely this spring in here, that's generally a bad sign. You can do, there are some very good knives from the company Kershaw Kershaw that do that. But at the same time, for the most part, it's not a good thing. Also, you're probably going to want to avoid things with like zombies and whatnot. I mean, no person in their right mind would buy this except me. But nevertheless, so that's something to keep in mind. But under $15, you're really going to struggle. So it's better to think about saving up a little bit, because once you do save up just a little bit more, you can get some really incredible pieces. One of them, and one that's not that expensive at all, is this little guy right here. This is the Opinel knife. It's a very different knife, absolutely 100%. But for like $12, you can get this knife that has a very attractive wood handle, that has really nice edge geometry. You can see how thin it gets here on the tip there, and then it cuts like freaking crazy. You can get very nice steels. You have the choice of a carbon or a stainless steel. And you can get many different sizes of this. This is the number 8 size, but if you want something smaller, you can do the number 6. And that's a great option for like $12. If you want to spend a little bit more, and I do think that by and large, you're going to want to spend a little bit more, you get to one of my very, very favorite pocket knives, period, which is this guy. This is the Ontario Rat 2, or Rat number 2 pocket knife here. You can get different steels in it. This is the D2 steel model. I like D2 a little bit more. It holds the edge longer, a little harder to sharpen. But you can also get one in Aus 8 for $25. And the thing is, this is as nice of a knife as this one isn't. It's very easy to unlock. The action is very, very smooth. Comes firing open very easily. It cuts beautifully. The edge is just absolutely gorgeous. It's easy enough to sharpen. It's going to be a reliable tool that'll serve you well for years and years and years to come, and it's going to be available in a lot of places. Maybe not brick and mortar places, but any good knife shop should have something like this around. Another nice option I don't actually have handy here is the CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tool, Ruger LCK. I've got a full review of it up on my channel there, but it's a beautiful option. It is about $25, and it is really, really, really nice. It offers something that's very, very different in terms of the aesthetics from this guy, but is also really compelling. And then finally, there is this little guy right here. This is a $30 knife, but the thing is, it's a beautifully designed $30 knife. This is from that Kershaw company I was talking about, and although a lot of their stuff is here and there, they're hit and miss, this is a really solid hit. It's from a very high-end knife designer who makes some very high-end knives throughout the rest of the knife world. This is another from the same guy, Dmitry Sinkovich. But this has an incredible knife, incredible action. It's completely unassisted, yet it fires out all the time using this little flipper tab on the back there. I mean, this is just a really, really nice piece. And so the point of comparison here, if you're looking at your Gerber Paraframe, or frankly anything that Gerber's making these days, these are just completely in different ballparks here, even though the amount of money you spend is only going to be maybe $10, $15 more. I get it. If you've only got $5 walking to the store and you need a knife, you end up with a $5 knife. But if you've got that option, if you can wait, if you can hold off for just a little bit longer, you will get a tool that will serve you much, much better for a much longer time than this little guy will, and will stay sharp and stay excellent throughout, well, a much bigger part of your lifetime. So right now, if you're carrying a Gerber Paraframe and you're watching this video, I do hope it served you well, and congratulations, you are going to be way more prepared with this in your pocket than somebody who hasn't yet realized how useful it can be to carry a knife. But I think you are also going to be amazed by how much more performance you can get for not all that much more money. And so when you're looking to pick up your second knife, or your third or your fourth, well, there are some really great options out there. Check my channel, check other channels, check the forum world, or frankly, just go buy a great knife. So there you go. I hope this has been interesting to you. Probably not something I'm going to ever recommend, but on the bright side, there are so many really great options out there that, well, you don't have to. Hope this has been interesting. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.